Hello, real estate enthusiasts. Welcome to The Closing Table, hosted by entrepreneur, published author, and founder of Inspired Title Group, Dru Wischhover. Joining Dru is his co-host, the always smiling director of operations and title guru, Aimee Maley. Every week, they're dishing out laughter, game-changing tips, and the latest industry trends, as well as the occasional visit from real estate professionals. No matter where you are in your real estate journey, we've got you covered. So don't just sit there. Pull up a chair, have a seat, and join us at The Closing Table. Hello again, everybody. Welcome back to another show. You've made it. You're here with us. We are so thankful.
We missed you last week. So glad to be back with you guys again.
This every other week thing is killing me. I just love doing this show.
You might be, but your mental state is happy that we're not doing this. Maybe I'm speaking.
Maybe it's yours. Yeah. Well, everybody, I'm Dru Wischhover, and I am the president and CEO of Inspired Title Group.
Joined by me, Aimee Maley, the director of operations and title guru, also of Inspired Title Group.
Absolutely. Well, I think we're pretty fired up here today, and we got a lot of great things here, and we're ready to go on another episode of The Closing Table. This is amazing. Aimee, why don't you tell everybody what's going to be on this show again today?
Absolutely. So we always like to kick off our show with the ABCs of title. We are on to the letter G.
G.
That means we did what last week?
F is in Frank.
And F is followed by G.
Yep,
and
it is.
We're also going to talk a little bit about what is going on with the commissions in real estate, because I know it's a little bit of a, touchy topic for some people, but we're just going to spend some time giving our thoughts and information on it. Cause like we tell you, we report the news. We are not here to, pick a side. We're news people.
We're Switzerland.
We're always Switzerland.
Yep.
We also have another fantastic guest that we are going to talk a little bit about. It is Mental Health Awareness Month.
Yes, it is.
So our guest is going to tie a little bit into that. And then we are going to do our wrap up with what is happening at Inspired Title with our gift back.
Oh my gosh, that is so exciting. So whether you guys are a seasoned veteran or if this is just something that is brand new and you're just a homeowner looking to kind of update your knowledge and get a little bit more insight as to what's going on in the real estate space, this right here is all designed for you guys. So Aimee, are you ready?
I'm ready. Are you ready?
I am ready. So guys, grab your coffee and pull up a chair, because we're about to open up our discussion here at The Closing Table. I am ready, and G is a hard word, isn't it? Like it's such.
Well, it's a letter.
It is a letter that really creates hard words when it comes to, finding something that pertains to title. So what are we going to do?
We are going to do a G word.
Okay, good idea.
It's two G words that you can't have one without the other. Do you have any guesses?
That. Oh, and that too is a G word. Nice job. Well played.
It's not giraffes. Giraffes and gorillas go together because they're both animals, but it's not that.
Okay. Gestapo.
No, but that's an interesting letter.
Okay. I don't. What are we going to talk about?
We're going to talk about grantors and grantees.
Yeah, I guess it is a necessary part of what we do.
And it is a necessary part because you can't really convey property without using these words in your conveyance document.
Yeah, that's so very true.
So it is, I do feel like these get misconstrued a little bit, and people often wonder about which is the grantor and which is the grantee.
Mm-hmm.
So first, we're just going to give you a little quick snippet.
Sure.
That a grantor is the one transferring ownership or assets of a real property to somebody else. And the grantee is the person or organization that is receiving those.
That's true.
And it was funny when we were talking about this. Drew was like, grantor, sell lore.
Right.
And then my brain goes, well, buy your. Anyway, I don't want to confuse you. But yes, the grantor is also referred to as a seller of a property.
That is true.
And the grantee is the buyer of a property.
And really the relationship of the grantor and grantee is typically based on, the document or the agreement that it is kind of utilized in.
Correct.
Right. And more often than not, we see these throughout the various deeds that are out there.
Deeds,
and
often.
Yep. And what happens is that those are really, they're telltaling to defining what their roles and responsibilities are through the deed.
It is. And these weird ors and e's come to play so many times in so many different facets.
Yeah.
You hear like trustors and trustees and lendors and lendees.
Yep.
So
leases,
the e's.
Yeah.
So it's always just good to remember the ors are the transferors.
Transferors.
Yeah. Stop listening to that. And the other end of that is the receivees.
Yes. Yeah. Recipient. Recipient.
Yeah. So when I was taking real estate classes,
congratulations, by the way. Nice job.
Thank you. So yeah, every time, this was something funny that came up because there was always a lot of questions surrounding the ors and the e's. So something good to keep in mind for when you're kind of, reading documents and your ors and your e's.
Yeah, I mean, here again, not going into all of the different deeds and things because that's a segment on its own, but just understanding what the definition
is. Like the birds
is.
And the bees, the ors and the e's.
That's an amazing analogy. Nice job.
It makes no sense, but it sounds good.
It was wonderfully punned. I liked it. Realistically, when you start thinking about, when you're reading a document and you see your name and, but prior to it, it says, the grantor, so-and-so, to the grantee, so-and-so, and you go, well, okay, simply, what does that mean? It just means that, basically they can just interchange those words and say seller, Mr. and Mrs. Smith, to buyer, Mr. and Mrs. Johns.
But we don't. We say grantor and grantee.
Yeah.
So that's a word that always keep your eyeballs open because
love it.
Gotta make sure.
And there for you guys out there is the letter G, who have thought that we would be able to come up with something without getting too crazy and too in depth in our little process here. So we just are talking about the letter G and getting that one wrapped up. And yeah, I guess we're going to touch on it. It's so you're a newly licensed realtor.
I am. Supposedly. No, not supposedly. I am a newly licensed realtor.
Congratulations in that, as well as you just have now established your licensing and where you're actually going to be operating out of.
Yes, right? I am going to be a licensed realtor with listing leaders.
So if anybody out there is looking for a realtor, Aimee Maley, listing leaders, she is live and official. So
for all your real estate needs, I have to come up with a cool.
Oh, believe me, based on that recent pun, I don't think you should have trouble. Keep going down that punny path. We'll figure something out. It's usually when you don't think about it that it just happens, right?
Correct.
So I know that there's been a lot of news and a lot of talk about a recent court case that has really changed
it's shaken up real estate.
It's just really changed the dynamic of how the commissions are going to be handled within the real estate space as far as buying and selling a home.
Yeah. So right now, typically, what is it?
So
it's typically that
what happens right now is when, you go to sell your house, and let's just use this as an example. If I'm the seller and Aimee is the buyer, if I engage in a realtor to sell my house, the realtor discusses with us the commission cost or percentage that it's going to be. And then up until recently, with this before the lawsuit, part of that commission was shared with the buyer's realtor.
Correct.
So the buyer's realtor was paid from the seller's broker's commission.
The seller was responsible for both agents getting paid.
So if the commission was 6%, they would divide it 3-3, 2.5. Yeah, like all whatever. There was that was negotiable. That was kind of up in the air. Now fast forward to they felt that this was unequitable and unfair. This has been the practice for numbers of years, right? So now the big question is, what's going to happen going forward?
How do we
is this going to
adapt?
impact the buyers and sellers going forward?
For sure.
You being a new realtor, like what do you think would be your initial feeling towards this?
Well, this is crazy because for those of you that know me, I didn't really get into this for the money-making piece of this, as silly as that might sound to some people. I got into it because so my grandma is in the process of listing her house, and I'm actually in the process of listing my house. And I always thought, you know, working at a title company, I always jokingly thought and said, we need a realtor in here because, you know, they hold hands, one feeds another. And so up until December, this wasn't really a reality. And then December, I decided to go ahead and pull the plug and go to real estate school for the pure fact of helping my grandma and myself sell our house So I think it's weird to think about how it was before then. So I do think that there might be a couple options that come from here. I do think that people working on the buyer side might start charging like an upfront fee to show houses.
Right.
And saying something along the lines of like, well, I'll show you 5 houses, you know, maybe free of charge, but then anywhere from 6 to 10 houses, I'm going to charge you X for that.
Right.
So I do think that if that's the route that people go, it might deter people from actually wanting to do that. Because if you're cheap, like I am, or just cheap. Like I'm just gonna go on Redfin and look at these houses. Like I don't know if I want to pay somebody to do that for me.
Yeah. That is the question that I've been asked numerous times under different formats, and I concur with that thought because, you know, folks that used to just kind of get up on a Saturday morning and say, hey, let's go just look at some houses.
Yeah.
They're maybe not in the market yet. They're considering it. Now it's going to be like a second guessing of that thought process to say, well, it's going to cost us money to do that.
Yeah.
And we're really not ready yet. So let's just not do it.
Right. And then I feel like that's going to deter agents. Like if there is no retainer fee or whatever you would call it, I feel like it might deter agents from working with buyers, and more agents would really just want to stay on the seller side of this. And, you know, before this court case became a thing, I think it was kind of a well-known fact that, you know, if you are working with a realtor versus not working with a realtor, your odds were better in getting houses because you had the support with you on like how to negotiate and maybe, you know, they can't tell you should put this much in your offer, but like, you know, this is what I think it's worth. But now it's kind of evening out that playing field where if buyers are just buying without an agent, it's like, is that gonna be a reality?
Yeah. And I think it's also important to mention that, you know, who is going to be most impacted by this? You know, the conversation around, you know, buyers or sellers, I think you kind of even bring that down a little bit even further. I think that really the folks that are going to be most impacted would be the first time home buyers, because if they're on the fence to qualifying for a loan already,
that's what's going to be so huge about this.
Right. I mean, it's hard to say what, you know, the actual dollar amounts or cost or how it's going to be, you know, really determined.
Or how lenders are going to bob and weave to kind of work with this too.
But if you're already coming in as a first-time home buyer and you're already strapped for cash and struggling to qualify for that loan, and you've got to pay a realtor,
right?
Okay, well, that might just totally crush the whole deal. So, so we've already got a market that is kind of under duress,
murky,
and now you add this dynamic, which is unknown, and we know how people love that unknown. What do people do in the unknown? Nothing, right? They freeze until they see where it settles.
Kind of settles. Yeah, exactly.
So I really wonder how that's going to play out for the first time home buyers too.
And I think, what are they saying? July, August is when this is actually going to like come into play.
Yeah. Some realtors are kind of implementing it now and trying to, you know, test the water, if you will.
Right.
But I think being realistic, it's going to take a year to really see and evolve into what is really going to happen.
Yeah. And is it going to be like that flat fee? Like you have to pay me if you buy a house? Like there's so many ways this could go.
Do you know the answer to this question?
Probably not. So thank you for putting me on the spot.
Do you know why, like what prompted this or why they did this? Well,
there was a lawsuit, right?
Mm-hmm.
That the commissions were getting a little
they
not inflate, like fees were getting a little bit.
It was unfair, but
yeah,
like, funneling down to what was the unfair that they were seeing.
No.
So the reasoning behind it is that
I need to do more research. Sorry.
No, you were studying for your exam. The reality was this was something that they were saying the buyers' realtors were not showing the buyers the properties that they really wanted to see, because the commissions that they were going to get paid were, maybe it was 1% or 1.5%. Okay, I'm going to show you that house over there. That's 2. So they, maybe they weren't showing the houses based on
a commission percentage.
Yeah, like, it wasn't the best interest of the client necessarily. It was based on a number of what they can earn.
This is so hard. Like, this,
and that's not everybody. Again, remember, we're that independent voice, and it's just like that. That's a reason that was brought up. And to your point, like, you're now a new realtor. This is what you hear is going on. This is the business practice, and you're kind of going, our model is that we are out to help the clients and the consumer, but I'm going to line my pocket because I'm going to go see the house that is offering me a 2.5% commission versus the house that's offering me 1.5%, even though they probably will like that one.
I feel like I wouldn't be able to go to sleep at night.
Right.
I just feel like, it's a hard time right now. I mean, it's a cutthroat market as it is, right?
For sure.
Like, just real estate in general. And if you just lead with putting your clients' needs first,
yep,
how could you go wrong? Like, I feel like that's going to be the only way, as I'm navigating what real estate is, to keep my conscience clear and to always put my best interests of my clients first.
And rightfully so, because that's where the success comes. And this is now the way for these different agencies and governing bodies to kind of intervene to say, all right, so we're going to take all this guesswork out of it for you. We're going to go ahead and control it and say, guess what? Going forward, this is now what we're going to do. And again, it's so hard to say, because the folks who were doing it with that same model that you just laid, are getting penalized for what the others are doing, because it's just out there. So I just thought that was interesting, because steering is obviously a strong word that they don't love to hear in that marketplace, and steering means so many things.
Well, it's illegal.
Yeah, well, but that's one example of what steering is showing people the houses because it benefits you, not necessarily the client.
Don't go into dealing with customers if you can't put them first.
Right. Amen. Good answer. Good answer.
And I think I do for sure think we'll touch on this again once July, August rolls around, and we're kind of seeing what that looks like. But about that for now. And I think we're going to move into the next portion of our show, the inspired people portion of our show.
Love it. This is really, I think, as we continue to evolve in this podcast, I think it's really exciting to see and meet the different folks that we've been meeting. And today we have a guest on that I think is going to be really great. And I think there's going to be a stronger need as time goes on. I mean, we really haven't talked about the mental health space.
Yes.
This is something that certainly I love. I'm very interested in it. Obviously, Courtney's involved in it.
Yep.
So to have somebody on the podcast that can really lean into this and share kind of some insights and theories and thoughts and maybe different techniques on, how to handle certain situations, how to cope.
I think that's great. Yeah, because, as we all know, I've been building a house for the last handful of months that I am now just moving into.
Right on.
So the process of what it does to your brain on trying to buy a house, sell a house, and do everything, like, it's mentally taxing. Sure. And it's something that you do a handful of times in your life, if that maybe. So it's how do you get through it? How do you practice?
Right.
How do you cope, right?
Yeah,
so we have a special guest today that is an EFT tapping coach. And for those of you that don't know a lot about that, neither do I. So we are going to bring on Sonia Petruszka
to kind of give us an insight into the mental health space.
Awesome. Welcome, Sonia.
Welcome.
Yay.
Hi,
Thanks for being here
for having
today.
me.
So, how did you meet Sonia? What is this?
So we actually met through a networking group,
Okay.
The Women
Okay.
of Strategic Introduction League.
Nice.
And Sonia just had such a bright personality, and she's got a contagious aura around her.
Love it.
So I think that bringing her in to kind of talk about what EFT tapping is, because it was something I didn't know anything about until I met her. So why don't you kind of just give us an insight into what you do and how you got here?
Sure. Thank you again. So EFT, it stands for Emotional Freedom Techniques. It's also called tapping because you physically use your fingertips to tap on different acupressure points on your head and upper torso. And basically, it's a mind-body technique that can be used to turn down the stress response in the body and really focus on kind of emotions that are trapped inside that maybe have never been processed, and help to clear those out so that they don't manifest in ways that are, let's say, undesirable. So it could be a health issue or behavior patterns that are really not helpful in your life. And so this is a gentle and safe way to kind of work slowly, getting closer to the root of the issue, and then reduce any kind of emotional charge around that so that it really kind of just disappears. So it's kind of like magic in a way.
That's awesome. How long have you been doing this, and what's the the practice behind it?
Yes. So I have been a certified practitioner for about 2.5 years now. I've been practicing on my own for about 4 years. And so basically the process behind it, and actually I would love to share a little bit about the science of it, just so that your listeners can get a better understanding of how it works.
Yes.
I'm one of those people where I need to understand how it works in order to really get it. So let's say, for example, I guess just sticking with the theme here of the closing table, let's say you're buying a house, right? And you're finding that you're feeling really, really stressed out about it. So when we're doing tapping, the first thing you do is you think about the issue that's causing you, some concern, a challenge. So you think about this process of buying a house. And just by thinking about it, you automatically trigger the stress response in your brain, because, it's a big deal. Maybe you've never done it before. So there's a fear, a lot of emotions in there. So we try to activate this stress response in the brain so that we get this alert signal. So that's message number one, right? So the body is receiving these messages. Okay, we're buying a house, be on alert, right? And then as we start to tap on the different acupressure points, this sends a second message, a contrasting message to the brain, and calms the nervous system. So it's sending a message of safety and calm to the brain. And so this means your brain is receiving two messages at the same time, and they conflict, right? So we have danger and then we have safety. What do we do with this? So in order to kind of reconcile these conflicting messages, the brain will create a new pathway, a new wiring for this new message of safety. And the idea is, as we continue to tap through the points, this will help to strengthen and more deeply ingrain this new pathway so that it becomes more dominant. Meaning that if we're successful in this, when you think about buying your house, you're no longer going to get that emotional spike of, oh my gosh, what am I doing? It will be natural, or at least drastically reduced, so that you're able to just continue on with the process of whatever you need to do and not kind of get thrown off course like you might otherwise.
That's interesting.
That is amazing.
And is there have there been studies out on this to determining the success rates in measuring kind of the outcomes of these processes?
Yeah, there are definitely a number of studies that are out there. I don't know the exact number at this point. I know at least 2 years ago, it was over 120 peer review scientific articles. But one of the most famous articles or studies that was done was on using EFT tapping for the reduction of cortisol. So using it for just stress in general.
Sure.
Yeah.
And excuse me. So in these studies, it was found that in 1 hour of tapping in a group setting, cortisol levels reduced by up to 43%.
Well,
and
that's a pretty big number.
there are many different studies that have been out there and comparing tapping on the actual acupressure points versus sham or pretend points.
Mm-hmm.
And while there is the placebo effect that comes into play there, it shows very clearly that the true acupressure points really have a significant advantage. So we do have that little piece of, mind over matter or whatever the phrasing is, but there is the science there to support that just by tapping on these specific points on your head and upper torso, it acts as a physical dial, really, if you can picture it this way, to kind of turn down the stress. So kind of like a knob. And so we know as well that when you're stressed, it makes everything worse, right? So if you're thinking about health issues, when you're stressed, it exacerbates symptoms, it makes you feel worse. And when you're able to calm down and get rid of some of that stress, things seem to improve. And it just ripples out in any area of life, even relationships. Like that was my personal experience with tapping. I found it, or it found me rather, during the pandemic. And I was in a very bad relationship at the time. So when lockdown went into place, I was kind of drowning in my own life, or at least that's how it felt. And then I started tapping and I noticed that it was really helping. Like I was in a space where I had kind of like a baseline of that physical anxiety, that feeling of walking on eggshells.
Yeah.
And after I had started doing tapping and eventually started working with my own coach, like that completely disappeared. And it was kind of like just a 180, really, increasing confidence and self-esteem and just being able to show up as an active participant in my own life versus kind of sitting in the back seat and being like, oh, well, this is happening. That sucks. I can't really do anything about it. So it's just in every aspect of life, it really can make a big difference. And sorry, one more thing. What I really love is that it puts you in the driver's seat. It's really an empowering practice because part of the way we kind of gauge how we're doing, and I hate to put it in terms of success or failure because any improvement is a success, but in order to kind of gauge how we're doing, we use a subjective measurement scale. So again, thinking about feeling like overwhelmed when it comes to buying a house, when we start a session, I would have you measure on a scale of 0 to 10. So 0 is the low end, meaning it's, doesn't bother me. 10, on the other hand, is worst thing ever. So between 0 and 10, how big, how strong does that feeling feel to you in the moment? And then we use that to kind of get an idea, well, for me, how we're going to approach the issue. And then also, as we continue through the session, we'll check in and see how the number feels. Has it changed? Has it gone up? Has it gone down? And then that is a way that we can use to kind of direct us. And then kind of parallel to that, it's a way for the individual who's sitting in the client seat, whether you're working with someone else or you're doing some solo work, it's a way of being able to see progress like in real time, right? Because if you're starting out at a 7 and you do a round or two of tapping and then you're at a 3, that's huge. I mean, any reduction is a success. So I feel like that's a really great empowerment tool for people to have.
No, I think that's, I was going to ask about the gauging thing, like how people usually go about, measuring that. And is it something that, sometimes people do it for like once a week, every week? Is it something that sometimes people only need like one session? Is it, kind of depending on what the situation is?
Yeah, excellent questions. So I'll try to make sure I get to all of them, and please hold me to that if I don't get an answer to one.
Okay.
But I mean, I guess the first answer is it depends, right? It depends on the individual and the issue that they're coming with. But I mean, of course, I'm going to say you should be tapping every day. But I guess from the standpoint of just, a way of being able to regulate your nervous system and kind of get you in a more grounded headspace. It sounds silly, but one of the top things that I recommend as a practice or starting a tapping habit to folks is to do toilet tapping, because normally in the morning, one of the first things we do is we use the restroom, right? And so what a perfect opportunity to just do a round or two of tapping, even if you're not, feeling any specific way, but it's just kind of a way to let your nervous system know, like, I'm safe, it's okay, I can have a great day. And then, if something comes up later on that stresses you out or whatever it may be, you can use tapping in the moment, kind of as like an emotional first aid tool in a sense. And then also we can take it deeper, and this is much easier done working with a practitioner versus on your own, but not impossible. But we can use it more as a deeper healing tool for kind of like bigger things that you may have been carrying around for a lot longer. So in terms of like a once a week session, I would envision that would be more intentional work. So if you're working with a practitioner or you have like a list of things that you want to work through on your own, just setting aside time to do that. Otherwise, you can totally use it like if you have a stressful meeting or your kids are driving you nuts, like just give yourself like a minute or two time out to step out of the room, step somewhere that's, private or not, depending on your comfort of people seeing you tap, and just give yourself a tapping timeout, really is what it comes down to. But it's amazing how I have noticed in doing this sometimes when I'm working in the day and I don't perceive that I feel stress, but just out of curiosity, I'll do some tapping and then I'll feel so much more relaxed. And it's amazing because you don't even realize that we kind of get into this chronic cycle of just feeling stressed, and that becomes the baseline.
What's your background that really steered you to finding this and wanting to do this and bring this into the actual field of mental health and seeing how this works?
Yeah, this was I really think this found me, EFT tapping found me versus the other way around, because it was definitely a career pivot. Before this, I was in the fields of immigration services and migration. I dabbled kind of in personal fitness and health before this, but it came out of a personal need, a necessity, right? Because I needed something to help me feel better. I was in a position where I felt desperate, and traditional talk therapy or Western talk therapy wasn't accessible to me because I was not in a place where I was able to really get the words out, right? And that's what, in talk therapy, you have to speak. So if you're not able to express yourself verbally, at least in a way that feels safe, you're not going to be able to get that relief. And so tapping provided an alternative, and my goodness, I don't know where I would be if I hadn't discovered that. But I had an exposure to tapping a couple of years prior. There was some sort of, online, like 10-day program that I did, what those things are like. And at the end, they tried to recommend other courses that you may be interested in. So tapping was one of them, and I was not ready for it at that point in my life. I looked at it, I saw a video, I'm just like, I don't get it. What is she doing? Maybe I'll come back to it. And of course I didn't. And then fast forward a couple of years, again, I'm feeling so overwhelmed in my own life, and I open up my email and I see an email with the subject line tapping for overwhelm, which of course is exactly what I need. And I knew what it was, and I was at a place where I was ready to try it. So I feel like this kind of thing, so many people in the wellness space come into those roles or these fields because of their personal experiences, and just having that personal transformation and then seeing it with other people that you work with, over time, it solidifies that this is what you need to be doing and sharing and spreading in the world.
It's a great story, and I really, really appreciate you sharing it, and even showing some vulnerability there as to some of the things that maybe helped you along the way and bring you to where you are today, some of the personal experiences in things. And I think that there are a lot of tools, there are a lot of opportunities that are out there in helping folks kind of cope with some things that we deal with every day.
Right.
And this is just one of them. This whole tapping. Is it something that is definitely needs to be practiced based on the fact that the pressure points are certain areas on your face and cheek and chin, etc. Like as you said earlier, you don't want to be just randomly tapping your face and missing, because what's the point? I mean, it'll just beat myself up at that point, right? So like what's the learning curve of that is really knowing where these points are.
Yeah, and I actually really appreciate you voicing that, Drew, because I mean, truthfully, this is super simple and incredibly fast to learn. There's 9 basic tapping points. Of course, there are many more acupressure points that can be thrown in there, but in terms of EFT and like the modality that is taught for those who are getting certification in it, any certified practitioner will be familiar with the basic 9 points. And you just have to remember those. And if you're working with a coach, then of course, by the end of the first session, likely you're not going to need a reference guide in order to remember those points. What I find is the biggest aspect in terms of a learning curve is confidence. Confidence in quote unquote doing it right. And let me say, it's really hard to mess up. Like these giving, and there's not like a magic bullet in terms of what kind of words you need to be saying. And the truth is, when you're just starting out, you don't need to add words to it. You can just tap silently or think something in your mind. It's never wrong, to be honest. So definitely in my experience, it's individuals feeling confident that they can do it and be successful on their own. And I think that that's a big piece of why folks like to work with a coach or a practitioner, because they have that guidance and that support so that they feel like, okay, I'm feeling more comfortable doing this with you. And now that I've had this experience, I feel better about trying it on my own. So it's really, to me, confidence is like the biggest thing. So it's a really great tool to help to build confidence for folks.
Yeah, for sure. This is great. I think this is great stuff. I think it's something that's easy. I think it's something that's relevant. I think it's something that, like you said, people can do without, they can do behind their closed doors. It's not like they have to, broadcast it or show it. But the benefit that is that it promotes is
huge.
Yeah, it really is. It really is.
Yeah. Do you think we should get to our wrap-up questions for Sonia?
Yeah.
Get on with their day?
Yeah, I think we should.
Okay, so 2024, what are your goals that you have moving through 2024? It could be business, it could be personal. Just what are you trying to accomplish this year?
That's a good question. Let's see, goals for 2024. Well, my big goal, I guess, business-wise, is I want to put out an online course on confidence, tapping for confidence. So stay tuned for that. I anticipate that being later on in the year, but
keep us posted about that for sure.
And I guess in general, just do my best to enjoy each moment and be present. I think that's a tall order, unfortunately, in today's world. So that's the goal for 2024.
I love
Good
it.
for you. Good luck with those. That's love to hear people setting goals and getting after them, and having the tenacity to do it is a really big, a really big show for how to do that. So good luck to you. I think you've got it all inside of you to do that and achieve it, and really, really enjoy what this is. You're passionate about it, so I think the success rate becomes higher.
Yeah.
Success to me is meaning one specific thing, a couple things, but I generally like to find out from our guests, how do they define success? We're in a world here where people are influenced by a lot of different things, and trying to cut through that and say, I'm looking to find your success. How do you define it? Not how you think we want you to define it. How do you define success?
Yeah, that's a really great question. And I feel like, to me, there are a lot of components that come into it, kind of as you referenced. But honestly, like, I guess over the years, being, going through life and having these experiences and being able to reflect and see the growth that has happened, I feel like what really measures success is the feeling, right? So we can have a goal like, I want to, I don't know, whatever it may be, I want to buy a house, right?
Mm-hmm.
So like, you can accomplish a goal, but if you don't feel fulfilled, I think it's the fulfillment, right? So it's not necessarily about checking off the boxes and like, making sure you cross all the T's and dot the I's. Like, yes, that's one part of it. You have to get that to get to a certain point, but it's really about the internal component of how you feel about it. Because if you do it and you don't feel fulfilled, or you don't even allow yourself to kind of celebrate what you've been through and where you've come from before you're moving on to the next thing, I don't know, to me, it gives me pause. Like, well, why did you do it in the first place if you're not going to allow yourself to celebrate it? So it's being able to celebrate yourself and feel that fulfillment, because that's the true measure of whether what we're doing is even worth it, right? If we're feeling good about it.
Love the answer. Great job. And we wish you nothing but success. We are so proud and thankful that you took some time to share about you and a very integral part of what is kind of going on in just an area here of the mental health space. I think that this is something that is going to become more widely used. I hope it's something that people embrace and see benefits from, because I my daughter, being a therapist as well, has seen and done this as well, and this is very proactive.
Yeah.
And in your story and your vulnerability and your knowledge around it and your excitement when you speak about it, I think you're on the right path to doing some great things. So look forward to following this and seeing you in the big lights, in the big show, if you will.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
No, it's always great having guests here.
It was great. It was awesome.
It's just wonderful having great people that are not shy to tell their story.
Yeah.
Share some vulnerability. And you said you met her in
the Women of Sil. Yeah, that networking group I'm in.
Nice.
That was Sonia Petruszka, the EFT tapping coach. I'm just hearing her and the passion she talks about this with was so awesome to me. And also the fact that, like, I feel that this is a way that everybody can approach mental health.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like it's an easily, and it's
tangible.
Thank you. That's the word. I was like, it's something that you can actually do to yourself to make, to help yourself grow.
Yeah, absolutely. And what we'll do is we'll get Sonia's contact information, all the ways you guys can get a hold of her and reach out and ask questions and follow her and help her in her journey to growing her dream. And this is what better way to follow somebody on their path. So great segment, great opportunity, talking to great people. I really enjoy this part.
I do too. And on to the next.
Yeah, this is good. I love listening to great people speak and good conversations. And man, she she just kind of touched on so much. And, we're obviously in this mental health awareness month, and we're talking all about that. And we're even aligning ourselves with it as far as what we're doing in our space. So I want to give you guys a little bit of, quick insight to that before we get you guys on your way to your day. The team here at Inspired has really just made a point and a dedicated mission to, giving back and doing the different things where we can, get out there in the community. And I think this mental health awareness is obviously very, very close to all of us.
It is. And I think, the cool thing is now people are feeling okay with talking about mental health. Because I think it's something that I wish I had more of in my childhood, not to be completely selfish, but so we are teaming up with an organization called Hope for the Day.
Love it.
And what they do is they are very into, I don't want to speak on behalf of them because they will be coming on one of these shows in the future, but it's to help people that are struggling with, maybe some mental health issues, specifically suicide.
Yeah.
So we do have something exciting coming up that we're going to do with them, but I don't want to give you too much information on it right now. But right now, they were nice enough to give us, you can't see them because of the glare.
Or they're listening on the radio and there's their car.
there's something fluttering at you. But kind of they have the tagline, "It's okay to not be okay."
I love that.
So Hope for the Day gave us some great material to keep here at the office in case, people are in the office and just happen to be having a tough day and they need somebody to talk to. But I do think mental health is so important that if you are struggling, if you are going through something hard, jokingly aside, buying a house is really detrimental to some, but my mental space to put me in a very strange spot for a handful of months.
For sure.
So it's nice just to know that there's an organization out there. There's a number you could call just to talk to somebody when you're feeling a little bit unsure about, your brain and where it's going at a specific time.
Yeah. I mean, this is those moments in our lives where we stop and we're able to just kind of, recenter ourselves around things that are important and things that are impactful, that are making, a difference. And an organization like this is absolutely one of those opportunities where, we all might know somebody or known of somebody who is struggling in that space. This just gives us, an opportunity to more openly talk about it and become transparent. So, it's not, again, we've said it 100 times. It's so much bigger than us. It's not always about business and, closings and deals. It's about community and people.
It isn't. And now that we have somebody, Courtney has been kind of full blown, like throwing herself into aligning with organizations that, we as a team feel passionately and strongly about. So I'm so blessed and thankful that she's kind of taken that charge and put us in touch with some great organizations that we've been able to, connect with, specifically, Pillars, the Bridge Teen Center, Heroes Helping Heroes, Hope for the Day. All these great organizations are going to, be featured as
for sure
part of our golf outing.
Woo!
Yeah, so we are officially doing the 5th annual golf outing to celebrate the life of Tim Garvin Jr., my cousin-in-law, cousin. We put on this celebration of his life in memorial of him. And we always have a lot of family members come out. We have some fantastic clients come out. We have so many organizations that want to be a part of this. And we also want you to be a part of this. So you can find us on, it's not, what is it? I'm going to say
Scramble Hunter.
Thank you. It is Scramble Hunter. If you want to sign up, also just feel free to reach out to us over here.
What's the date of it?
July 27th.
July 27th.
Saturday at Glenwoody. Come party with us. Get to know the team. Get to meet the faces behind the podcast if you're people that listen instead of watch.
Lots of, we got raffles and silent auctions and lots of opportunities to win some good things and be part of something that is giving back to the 3 charities that
Pillars, the Bridge Teen Center, and Heroes Helping Heroes. And the super exciting thing is our next show in 2 weeks. We are going to be joined by a special guest from the Bridge Teen Center.
Can't wait.
And I cannot. You don't want to miss this one. She is
blows us away.
Yes.
She's dynamic. And, like every show that we do, like every every time we get into this podcast and start to do our wrap ups and our startups and our excitement, and it's like there's just not enough time in these things to really emphasize the excitement that is in us, that is burning inside. Share this, allow you the a little insight as to what we're doing. And again, another great show. Of course, we got to do the ABCs of title, where we talked about grantors and grantees. Yes, we did.
Fantastic. We got a little bit into the discussion of commissions.
Big good discussion, yeah.
Which I'm sure you're going to hear more of. We were joined with Sonia with her EFT, her tapping, which is
so enlightening.
Reach out to her if you. It's a fantastic. Yeah. She's great. Yeah. And then a little bit about our give back, hope for the day, and just our golf outing and what's to come with the future of Inspired Title Group.
You guys, you're not going to want to miss the next episode going forward as we start.
Or any episodes as we continue on.
This is just getting stronger. We're getting more traction. We're definitely seeing that the outreach is starting to kind of circle back. And if you guys want to be a part of this, reach out to us. If you want to be on the show, let us know. You can find us on the web. You can find us on all the social channels. We're around. We'd love to hear from you. But important too is share this. Get people engaged in this, in what we're doing, because we're doing
it for you.
Yeah, our mission is about people and getting it out there for the people. So I hope you guys enjoyed today's show as much as we enjoyed doing it. And we'd like to see you guys in a couple weeks. Until next time, my name is Dru Wischhover.
My name is Aimee Maley.
Yes, you are. We are both part of the great Inspired Title Group located here in Palos Heights, Illinois. Love to hear from you guys. Thank you guys for tuning in. Until next time, say goodbye, Aimee.
Goodbye, Aimee.
That
Aimee,
girl.
guest.
Take care, everybody.
Bye.
Thanks for joining us.